In this video, I will show you all the forms that you need to put together a lease transaction from both a listing agent perspective and tenants agent perspective. These forms are all that we require on our checklist at my office. Now, of course, your broker may require additional forms, but in terms of putting together a lease transaction, this is all you need. And I won't go into detail on how to fill out every single form, but I will draw your attention to some key elements. One is compensation, of course, how to get paid as a listing agent and as the tenants agent, and this rental property owner disclosure that's clumsily added to the lease listing agreement bundle and how to get around that problem. So I'll scroll through all this and I'll show you what forms you need to structure a lease transaction. Now, of course, we have the lease listing agreement for the listing agents. And I have a whole video on how to fill this out that you can find separately. But here, compensation to broker, I want to talk about this for a second. Now, usually I see agents charge a percentage that's equivalent to what you see in a sales transaction. So if on a sale you charge 2.5%, you would put 2.5% here, check this box, right, 2.5%. And the lease listing agent's charging the owner 2.5% of all rental income collected. And that's fairly common, 2.5%, 3%, something like that. And sometimes I see flat fees, certainly more flat fees charged instead of more than sales transactions. But if you're charging a flat fee, you'll check this box and just write in, $1,500, $2,000. There's not a lot of money in leases. There are a lot of headache for little compensation. I'm just being candid with you. I'm just being real because that's the reality of leases, but often they're done as an accommodation for a client. Maybe you sold a home to someone and now they want to rent it out. So since you got the sale transaction, might as well help them with the lease. Just being upfront about it because, gosh, if I could only tell you how many times I've had agents tell me at the end of a lease how much work it was for how little money. All right, so that's compensation for the listing agent. Okay, now let's scroll through here. Now we're still in the lease listing bundle. And then we come across this. This is a big problem, and I'll show you the workaround. This came up this week in my office because this is an owner disclosure, which is like a TDS or a disclosure form for the owner, and it asks all these questions, and the owner fills it out. Now, in our office, what happened was this document was rejected on file review because the tenant didn't sign it. And when I told the agent, she made a great point. She said, well, I don't want to present this form, which is bundled with the lease listing, because I don't want to present to the tenant because it has private information between the owner and myself, the listing agreement. And it shouldn't be shared. The listing agreement that you have as a listing agent with the owner is not the tenant's business. It's none of their business, but it's bundled together. So what do? Well, I'll tell you, because here's the problem. If this form is filled out, and you withhold it, you don't have the tenant sign it, you can get in big trouble. You're concealing, you're withholding material facts. You are withholding material facts from the tenant because the owner has in good faith answered all these questions. And if an issue arises and you, the agent, are in possession of this form where the owner made a disclosure and you didn't give it to the tenant, you're in big trouble. So there is a standalone form. And here's what I recommend. Don't fill this out when you're doing the lease listing agreement. Skip this. Do the standalone version of this. That way you don't have to give a whole listing agreement to the tenant. So that's my 2 cents on it, okay? And I'll scroll through the standalone in a second. And so it has this property owner advisory, just same old advisory, stuff like that. Owner signs, you move on. Fair housing, discrimination, advisory. This is all part of the lease listing bundle. It's a bundle, okay? Now we get to we get to the TRBC, which is it's the buyer representation only for tenants. It's a tenant representation and broker compensation agreement, just like in a sales transaction. And I'll scroll down here and now I have a video on this separately. I have separate videos if you want to go into details, but compensation, another key part that I want to draw your attention to. Now, if you're the tenant's agent, or even if you're a dual agent, put a figure here. I'm totally against agents not charging clients. I really am. It's one thing if you want to credit a portion of a client or you need to throw in some commission and make a deal work, but there's so much exploitation of agent time and energy by clients that will walk all over you. I'm just totally against it. I mean, I've been licensed forever now, so I've just seen it so much over the years that I have zero patience for it. But anyway, so the tenant's agent's going to write in, same idea as what we just talked about in the lease listing, a percentage, okay, of the total payments, or you can do a flat fee. All right. I don't like how they broke this up into fixed term or month to month. So just duplicate what you put here. Put 2.5% or 3% or 5% if you can. Put the highest number you can manage on here. Okay. And that's it. And then I'll show you where in the lease agreement this all ties together. All right. Now here we are at the actual lease agreement. Okay. Again, I have a whole separate video on this, but I'm going to scroll down to, I want to say paragraph 42. Let's take a look here. That's where compensation is. All right. Yeah. 42, broker compensation. Okay. This is where if the owner, if you're asking for reimbursement, like how we do in a sales transaction, you just tick this box right here, 42B. All right. And you basically put whatever's on the TRBC form we just did right there. Okay. And this is where the tenant's agent asks the owner to pick up the tenant's obligation, their commission obligation, to basically pick up the tenant's tab when it comes to commission. So you put whatever's on the TRBC right here, check this box, and that's it. It's that simple for compensation. Now let's keep scrolling through the lease agreement, and this is part of the bundle, bed bug disclosure required, tenant flood hazard disclosure required, rent cap. So all this should be done. It's all bundled in, which is good. Now this is an example of a good bundle. I know what Carr's reason is for bundling that owner disclosure with the lease listing, but it's no good. It should not be done that way. There should just be verbiage suggesting or where you can add it on, but it should not be, because Carr locks all their forms. So an agent can't just extract out that owner disclosure from the lease listing agreement. This positive rental payment, my gosh. Do you see how much goes into a lease already? I mean, most leases are just so much headache. All right, fair housing discrimination. We saw that in the lease listing agreement. Mold, okay, we're almost through the lease agreement. Now, we require this. This is very important. If anyone disagrees on adding this, they're wrong. I'll just say it. I'll say it in absolute terms. You should absolutely have this as part of your package of all your paperwork for a lease. Water heater and smoke detector, and because it's required by law and you want to make sure that everyone's compliant. Mold, the LRM form, you want to add that in there. Very important. All right. You know what's funny? With all the junk that's bundled together with the lease listing and the lease agreement, they didn't add a disclosure regarding real estate agency relationship, which is required by law. It's a standalone form. With all the junk that they bundled together, they left this out. I don't know. But you need this form, so add it in there. And there's this consumer thing again, and that's it. That's all you need right there to do a lease transaction. Your broker might require more. If you have everything I mentioned in this video, you are audit proof. You have done everything properly to mitigate liability. You've done a great job, and applaud yourself. All right. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching.